And thank you for standing by, and welcome to Sunlands' second quarter 2025 earnings conference call. At this time, all participants are in a listen-only mode. Today's conference call is being recorded. I'll now turn the call over to your host today, Yuhua, Sunlands' IR representative. Please go ahead.
Hello everyone, and thank you for joining Sunlands' second quarter 2025 earnings conference call. The company's financial and operating results were issued in our press release via Newswire services earlier today and are posted online. You could download the earnings press release and sign up for our distribution list by visiting our IR website. Participants on today's call will be our CEO, Mr. Tongbo Liu, and our financial representative, Mr. Hangyu Li. Management will begin with prepared remarks, and the call will conclude with a Q&A session. Before I hand it over to the management, I'd like to remind you of Sunlands' safe harbor statement in relation to today's call. Except for the historical information contained herein, certain matters discussed in this conference call are forward-looking statements. These statements are based on current trends, estimates, and projections, and therefore you should not place undue reliance on them. Forward-looking statements involve inherent risks and uncertainties. A number of important factors could cause actual results to differ materially from those contained in any forward-looking statement. For more information about the potential risks and uncertainties, please refer to the company's filings with the Securities and Exchange Commission. With that, I'll now turn the call over to our CEO, Tongbo Liu.
Okay, thank you, Yuhua. Hello everyone. Welcome to Sunlands' second quarter 2025 conference call. Prior to commencing, I would like to kindly remind all entities that the financial information referenced in this release are presented on a continuing operation basis, and all figures are denominated in RMB unless explicitly specified otherwise. In the second quarter of 2025, we achieved solid momentum across key performance metrics. Net revenue reached RMB 539 million, up 9.5% year-over-year, supported by resilient learner demand and the continued expansion of our course offerings. Notably, net income in this quarter surged to RMB 126.6 million, with net margin expanding to 23.5%, representing a 15.4% increase from the same period last year and a 16.8% sequential jump. This marks a significant step change in our learning capacities. Now let's turn to the performance of our major courses programs. Our degree and diploma-oriented post-secondary offerings, once the cornerstone of our legacy business models, now contributed approximately 11% of our total revenue. By intentionally resizing this business line, we have redirected resources to faster-growing, higher-margin areas that better align with evolving learner needs. The adult education landscape in China is undergoing a structural transformation. Learners are shifting from pursuing formal credentials to seeking practical skills, emotional enrichment, and lifelong growth. According to third-party research, the market is expected to exceed RMB 1 trillion by 2027, with a 5-year CAGR of 12.6%. Online education, in particular, is projected to grow at 17.3%, reflecting strong momentum behind the digital-first, learner-centric models. We identified this shift early. Since 2021, we have executed a deliberate transition from a degree-centric approach to 3 pillar models: degree programs, professional skills, and interest-based learning. This evolution was not a product expansion. It redefined our value proposition, grounded in deep user insight and long-term motivation. Today, non-degree programs, including professional certifications, practical skills, and interest-based courses, contributed to approximately 77.6% of our total revenue. Among them, interest-based learning has demonstrated exceptional growth, achieving over 15% year-over-year revenue growth. In 2024 and the first half of 2025, the sector recorded enrollments of over 517,000 and 300,000 respectively. Based on current momentum and visibility, we believe Sunlands has established a leading position in China's adult interest-based education sector. The core driver of this growth is our focus on the silver demographic, learners aged 15 to 75, which have emerged as a high-potential audience. By the end of this quarter, we have built a private user ecosystem of tens of millions of senior users, with over 1 million paying for full-price courses. Based on internal estimates, this segment achieves course completion rate of around 18%, repurchase rate of over 16%, and satisfaction levels for certain courses generally above 95%. Beyond metrics, our platforms have become a meaningful social hub for retirees. Many users, once facing solitude or social connection, are now finding new peer networks, sharing passions, and building lasting connections through online forums and offline meetups. What emerges is a high-impact social graph born from the learning experiences itself, where courses spark conversations and conversations evolve into communities. This is the multiplier effect of intelligent, purpose-driven education. Complementing this demographic focus is our second growth engine, intelligent personalization powered by AI. If demographic define who we teach, intelligent, adaptive technology define how. Our proprietary SaaS platform, trained on 2 decades of adult education data and billions of interactions, delivers personalized content, real-time feedback, and dynamically assembled courses at scale. Besides, we also introduced a Mandarin voice activated AI assistant that understands slow or accented speech for older learners. Embodied as expressive meta-humans, this assistance makes learning intuitive, human, and emotional resident. Guided by our Access framework, answer, comment, supervisor, study, we ensure consistent support and measurable outcomes. The silver economy is emerging as one of China's most transformative growth frontiers in the stakers. With our first mover advantages, proven execution capabilities, and the technology infrastructure refined over 2 decades, Sunlands is uniquely positioned to lead in senior education. We extended our gratitude for your presence today and the continued support you provide. Thank you, and we look forward to your valuable engagement. With that, I will turn the call over to our Financial Director, Hangyu, to run through our financials.
Thank you, Tongbo. Hello, everyone. I'd like to share our second quarter results, which came in strong and right in line with our expectations. Another quarter of disciplined execution and durable growth. Net revenues for the quarter grew 9.5% year-over-year to RMB 539 million, a direct result of our strategic shift towards the civil economy market. Interest-based courses were the primary growth driver for our revenue, contributing 78% of the total revenue this quarter. For the first half of 2025, new student enrollments in interest-based courses exceeded 300,000, with cumulative enrollments surpassing 2.1 million since 2020. This aligns with our focus on the silver demographic. Our private user ecosystem, which numbers in the tens of millions, has converted into over 1 million paying users, boosting 80% course completion rates and a 60% repurchase rate, metrics that fuel revenue stability. Our net income for the quarter reached RMB 126.6 million, with a net margin of 23.5%, a 6.8 percentage point increase from the same period last year. We have now achieved 17 consecutive quarters of profitability, demonstrating the resilience of our strategy and disciplined operational execution across cycles. Net cash from operating activities remained positive for the 8th consecutive quarter, reinforcing both the resistance of our execution and the strength of our underlying cash engine. This robust financial foundation gives us the agility to navigate uncertainty and the conviction to double down on high-return growth areas when opportunities arise. Looking ahead, we remain focused on generating high-quality earnings, scaling operational efficiency, and channeling resources into innovation. Our long-term playbook is clear: broaden our course portfolio, sharpen our cost structure, and elevate the learning experience for every student we serve. These strategic levers are positioning us to lead decisively as the future of online education continues to unfold. Now, let me walk you through some of our key financial results for the second quarter of 2025. All companies are year-over-year, and all numbers are in RMB unless otherwise noted. In the second quarter of 2025, net revenues increased by 9.5% to 539 million from 492.2 million in the second quarter of 2024. The increase was primarily driven by the growth in gross billings from interest courses. Revenues decreased by 9.1% to 69.6 million in the second quarter of 2025, from 76.6 million in the second quarter of 2024. The decrease was mainly due to the declined compensation expenses related to headcount reduction of our teachers and mentors for degree or diploma-oriented post-secondary courses. Gross profit increased by 12.9% to 469.4 million in the second quarter of 2025, from 415.6 million in the second quarter of 2024. In the second quarter of 2025, operating expenses were 342.6 million, representing a 1.1% increase from 338.9 million in the second quarter of 2024. Sales and marketing expenses increased by 1.7% to 302.5 million in the second quarter of 2025, from 297.4 million in the second quarter of 2024. General and administrative expenses decreased by 2% to 33.2 million in the second quarter of 2025, from 33.8 million in the second quarter of 2024. Product development expenses decreased by 9.3% to 6.9 million in the second quarter of 2025, from 7.6 million in the second quarter of 2024. The decrease was mainly due to declined compensation expenses related to headcount reduction of our product development personnel. Net income for the second quarter of 2025 was 126.6 million, as compared to 82.3 million in the second quarter of 2024. Basic and diluted net income per share was 18.75 in the second quarter of 2025. As of June 30, 2025, the company had 586.7 million of cash and cash equivalents and restricted cash, and 166.6 million of short-term investments, as compared to 507.2 million of cash and cash equivalents and 276 million of short-term investments as of December 31, 2024. As of June 30th, 2025, the company had a deferred revenue balance of $814.3 million, as compared to $916.5 million as of December 31st, 2024. And now for our outlook. For the third quarter of 2025, Sunlands currently expects net revenues to be between $500 million to $520 million, which would represent an increase of 1.8% to 5.8% year-over-year. The outlook is based on the current market conditions and reflects the company's current and preliminary estimates of market, operating conditions, and customer demands, which are all subject to substantial uncertainty. With that, I'd like to open up the call to the questions. Operator?
Thank you. We will now begin the question and answer session. To ask a question, please press star 11 on your telephone and wait for your name to be announced. To withdraw your question, please press star 11 again. For the benefit of all participants on today's call, if you wish to ask your question to management in Chinese, please immediately repeat your question in English. Please stand by while we compile the Q&A roster. Once again, that's star 11 for questions. At this time, we're showing no questions, so this will conclude our question and answer session. At this time, I would like to turn the conference back over to Yuhua for any closing remarks.
Once again, thank you everyone for joining today's call. We look forward to speaking with you again soon. Good day and good night.
This concludes this conference call. You may now disconnect your lines. Thank you.